Hey there, and welcome back to our channel, Math Defined. Today we're going to practice creating and interpreting a dot plot. You can go to the website buymeacoffee.com to download a PDF copy of this worksheet. I have provided a link in the description below. I would also recommend that before you begin this worksheet, you should watch these two introduction videos, How to Make a Dot Plot and What is a Statistical Question, first. So let's begin. A group of middle school students were surveyed about the number of texts they send in a day. Write a possible statistical question for this survey. Remember, a statistical question must meet these three requirements. Question a group of people, not just one or two, have more than one answer, and not be a boring yes or no type of question. We don't need to include the group of middle school students in our question. Pause the video now and write your own possible survey question. All right, one possible survey question could have been, how many texts do you send each day? This question can definitely have more than one answer, and it is not a yes or no question. You wrote a great question if yours was something similar to this. Now let's look at the data. Here we have the data points collected from our survey question. We can answer this question first. How many students were surveyed? By counting the number of data points from above. And you can count 20. We can also find the minimum and maximum values of our data points by looking above as well. Looking at this list, I see that 61 is the smallest value, so it is our minimum value. And 98 is the greatest value, so it is the maximum value. Now we are ready to create our dot plot using the data points that were collected from above. The first step is to draw a number line. For this practice problem, I have provided one for you, but I want you to notice that the number line starts at 60 and ends at 100. The reason being that the minimum value of the data points is 61 and the maximum value is 98. Now we're ready to plot the data points on this number line. Let's start with the first data point of 68, and we'll place a dot above the number 68 on the number line, and we'll check mark it off the list above. Now 72 and 74. You can pause the video now and complete this dot plot on your own. Come on back when you are done. All right, take a moment to check your dot plot with the completed one here. I'm sure you did a great job. Now we're ready to find the measures of center for the collected data. The measures of center are the mode, the median, and the mean. All three of these values help describe the center or the middle of the data. Finding the center allows us to understand that half of the data points are less than the center value and half of the data points are greater than the center value. Let's begin with the mode. The mode is the value or values that occur the most in the set of data. Looking at the dot plot, we can see that there are 3 dots above 72, which is more than any of the other values. So 72 is the mode. Now to find the median. We could use the dot plot, but since there are only 20 values, I think an easier strategy is to quickly write down all the values in numerical order. The median is the middle number of the data set. You can do this a few different ways, but an easy way is to just use the process of elimination. I'll start by eliminating the least value of 61 and then the greatest value of 98. And then I go back to the next lowest value of 68 and the next greatest value of 97. And I just keep doing this until I reach the middle value. I'm stopping here at 75 and 77 because if I eliminate these last 2 data points, there will be nothing left. So now I need to find the mean or the average of these 2 numbers that are left. To find the mean, we need to add 75 plus 77 and then divide by 2 to get 76. The last measure of center here is the mean. When you have 20 data points, finding this measure of center is the meanest of all because we have to add together all 20 data points and then divide by 20. And of course, we will use a calculator for this one. The sum of the data values is 1,581. And then we will divide that by 20 because we have 20 data values. So the mean will be 79.05. Oftentimes, you will be asked which one of these three measures of center is the best to describe the data that has been collected. Well, the best measure of center is the value that is closest to dividing the data points in half. Looking at the mode of 72, you can easily see on the dot plot that it definitely does not evenly divide the data points. Now let me draw a line here at 76 to represent the median. Now you can see that there are exactly 10 data points less than 76 and 10 data points greater than 76. So the median is the best measure of center for this survey. Now let's look at how this data is distributed or spread out on the dot plot. This question is asking how the data is skewed. Basically, it's asking how the data points are grouped together. To make this a little more visual, I will draw a line above the data points. Do you see that most of the data is grouped to the left with a few more data points extending to the right? This right side on the graph is called the tail, and we name skewed data according to the location of the tail on a graph. This means that the data is skewed right because the tail is on the right, and most of the data is on the left on the number line. And there were no outliers in this set of data. We know this because the mean of 79.05 is very close to the median of 76. We can also see this on the dot plot. We don't have any values extremely less than or greater than any of the other data points. So what can we conclude? Looking at the dot plot, we can say that most of the students sent between 61 and 83 texts in a day, with a few students sending between 90 and 98 texts. And that completes this practice of creating and interpreting a dot plot. Are you searching for more videos about statistics? Then check out this statistics playlist next. Thanks for learning with us today, and until next time, keep math awesome.